Yeah, it's going.
It's Wayne, Haley, and Sienna. Okay.
I'm ready.
We're in speech. Are we?
Yeah,
I'm
we're in
sitting
speech
by
class.
myself. Yay! Can I sit with you?
Alright,
Can I, Daddy?
did you know that by starting this video, I've stolen all your left socks and purchased 200 white orders to be delivered to you within 20 minutes? Now, if you're slightly skeptical of what I just stated, I must welcome you to the skeptical movement. Hello, my name is Modesto, Alcala, and I'll be talking to you about skepticism. The difference between a person who calls himself a skeptic and everyone else is that a skeptic makes a conscious decision to in order to. And my mind's going blank. My mind makes a skeptic makes a conscious decision and to question things that everyone else would normally take for granted. I spent 3 years reading, listening, and obsessively studying science and skepticism through podcast websites and literature. Let me start off with some prominent figures from skepticism. Harry Houdini. Now you're like, Harry Houdini, he's a famous magician, escape artist, right? Well, he was a famous skeptic because of his friend Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who was the author of Sherlock Holmes. He took him to a seance, and the spiritual person, the spiritualist, said that he was in contact with Harry's dead mother. And he became enraged because this guy was just making face accusations about his dead mother. So he went around the state debunking spiritualists and proving with his, he knew all the tricks that they were doing. So he published them in a book called the Miracle Mongers and Their Methods. And he died when he was 52, and on the anniversary of his death, his wife would have a seance where all the leading spiritualists from the world would come and they would try and contact Harry Houdini. And after 10 years of trying, no one was able to contact him. And the reason why she knew that no one was able to contact him because they had a secret catchphrase that he set up before he died. So if either one of them died, they can try and say this, and then they would know if it was truly him or her who was trying to contact them. Another famous person, that was the author of Sherlock Holmes. This is James Randi. He's a famous psychic and paranormal debunker. And the person he debunked was Uri Geller, the psychic spoonbenders from the 1970s. And he basically did everything that he could do, and he published it in a book called The Truth About Uri Geller. Another thing that he's real famous for is the $1 million challenge. He challenges any spiritualist or psychic that if they can prove to him that they truly have these powers, he'll give them $1 million. And since 1964, no one has been able to collect the $1 million. You can go to randy.org in order to figure out, to see all the people who've applied and all the things that they've failed at. Like the $1 million challenge, skeptics have fought fraud, like homeopathy. Homeopathy is a drug that they sell for pharmacies, and it's a drug that is based on the law of similar. So if you had insomnia and you couldn't go to sleep, they would give you caffeine, which makes absolutely no sense, right? Well, the skeptics also don't believe it. So what they did is they did a massive overdose called the 1023, and they went over. Really what they do is homeopathy dilutes the substance so much that it's the same thing as drinking water. So on January 30th, everywhere around the world, everyone goes to a pharmacy, purchases these homeopathic products, and then they overdose on them, taking them the whole bottle at one time, from sleeping pills, waking pills, whatever you want. And because it's a placebo, they just, doesn't affect anybody. Another one that is Powerband. Powerband is that was them overdosing. My bad. Sorry about that. That's 1023.org.uk. Powerband is a company that sells a rubber band with a with a hologram on it, and they state that they have scientific proof that proves that they can increase your agility, strength, and balance. And the skeptics thought it was so funny that they created their placebo band. The difference between this one is this one's $60 and this one's $1. And the Australian government sued Powerband for making false claims, and everyone that wanted a full refund could get a refund and had to get their money back. You can see that at the skeptical-science.com. They'll have all the information about that there. And the last one is vaccines cause autism, and that's from Wakefield study. And that was a scientist who produced a study saying, you know, vaccines cause autism. Well, the medical journal that produced that was Lancet, and they, beginning of this year, did a retraction. And the reason why they retracted it was because Wakefield lied. And they basically, through peer review and all this information, they figured out what he did, and they did a retraction. You can see that at thelancet.com. So you think to yourself, why would they produce this type of study on a medical journal? Isn't it peer reviewed? Why, you know, they say, oh, that shouldn't have been there. Why did they do that? Well, that's what I'm going to go into scientific methods. And everyone's taking a basic science class, right, where you know about theory and then using that theory in order to do a project, right, where you actually put it to use. And you use critical and rational thinking. Well, the other thing that scientists also use is a double-blinded study, and that's where both the scientist and the participant both don't know whether which one is a placebo and which one is an actual drug. And they do that in order to stop bias from interfering into the study, and to try and keep everything on the up and up. And the last is scientific and medical journals. Now, the way a scientific and medical journal works is that a scientist will produce a study, and then he'll try and publish it on a medical journal like the Lancet. And it will often it will get peer reviewed, but not always. And when it gets peer reviewed, they then publish it. And once it gets published, then other scientists can look at the work and say, oh, okay, this looks good. I want to try and duplicate this, or this looks like bullcrap. I'm going to go ahead and try and debunk this using the scientific method. And that's really where the power of the medical journals and scientific journals come into play. And it's truth through reproduction. Now you know what skepticism does, so let's recap what you have learned so far. How to think skeptically about things you might take for granted. Summary, skeptics like, you've learned about skeptics like Harry Houdini, who fought fraud through spiritualists. You've learned about current frauds like Powerband and homeopathy. And you learn a little bit about the scientific method, and it works because scientists compete with each other. The next time you encounter something off, remember that being skeptical can save you money. And thank you for sitting down.
No.